pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. All right. Well,
Y'all come on in, sit down.
yeah, try to. There's a few people
How are you?
around, so it's not quite like church where it's on the front seat. So, see a couple of new faces. If do we have any guests here? So I know one for sure. Tanny, you want to introduce your? Or you can introduce yourself.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Andrew Lelly. I'm with EAA Chapter 468 out of Williamston, Georgia, and I'm his suite mate.
Great. Awesome.
All right.
Welcome.
And PPL tailwheel endorsed.
And
Right.
oh, very good. That's good. We're glad to have you. Anybody else? Okay. Very good. Real quick, we're gonna just deviate just a slight bit from the agenda that you've got. I'm gonna pass out the ballots. You can fill those out, and we'll just turn them in at the end, count them up. But I wanted to go ahead and get those out to you. There's names. There's a little bit of instructions on there. Make sure you vote for one person in each category. So some of them are pretty self-explanatory. There is only one that's contested. So, but if y'all will fill it out, and we'll pass some pens and pencils around. Y'all can kind of share pens. You got if you don't. Anybody need a pen?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Y'all share one, Jason. That's all right.
That's life out of panic.
It's going good. The only thing I will ask is if you're not a member, you do not get a vote. If you're a member but you have not paid, please see Kent Walker before you vote. Kent's the distinguished gentleman in the back holding his hand up. So we just need to make sure. What's that?
Distinguished?
Well, you know, I'm trying. So you don't have to vote right now. Just wanted to get them in your hands, and we'll gather those up.
Everybody got one down here?
Anybody else need a pen or pencil? Keep blowing out there. All right. The secretary's report. I sent out the minutes this week. There's a few copies of the minutes floating around. I'll give you a second or two to look those. More than a second. I'll give you a little bit to look those over. Make any changes as needed. If there's no changes, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to accept as presented.
Got a motion approved, or made a motion by Don Lindberry, seconded by Mark Dunn. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thanks, guys. Hello, how's everybody? Next is our treasurer's report from Kent.
Still voting, just a minute.
Oh,
It's confusing, I'm having to vote, let me get it. Well, I mailed mine in earlier. I mailed it in.
right.
I put mine in the drop.
We're checking the postmark on all of those.
Oh, there's a class clown in here.
The financial report for the end of the month, for October, we'll have 3 accounts. We have the operating account, we have the fuel account, and we now have a Ray Aviation account, which we've had a Ray Aviation account, now we have money in it. So the operating account is operating account is $6,559. The fuel account is $1,568, and the Ray Aviation account has $10,000 in it. The fuel account, I've still got to make disbursements from our fly-in of previous month, so I haven't done that. So that's where your operation, $6,559, fuel $1,568, and Ray Aviation $10,000.
And I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit and let you, Rob's not here for the hangar rents caught up almost, except for one tenant.
Yeah, hangar rent is pretty much caught up. There's a couple that paid ahead and a couple that hadn't paid behind, so it all averages out. So, so it's all doing good. And Rob did, in his behalf, he did mention last month to allocate about $2,500 for changing out the lights in the hangar. So, that's all I know. I remember him saying that, so I'm allocating $2,500, and we only have $6,500 in the account now. So.
All right, do I have a motion to approve? Question?
We were running about $1,500 to $1,600 in the operating account. And I figured this is the end of the year, so this is the time that all the expenses hit. Has there been some of that money shifted in these other accounts?
Not really. Our largest expense is the insurance. We pay that in January or February.
Right.
We were running about $16,000 or $17,000 in the account. We transferred $10,000 of that into Ray Aviation.
Okay,
That is the large, but
That's the
I can't call it an expense.
right.
We transferred it over to Ray Aviation.
Well, I figured that that's probably what had
Yeah,
happened. But
so I've got 10,000 Ray Aviation account
Okay,
that wasn't there last month.
gotcha.
Y'all come on in.
Yeah. That was my only question.
Okay.
Now, I'll make a motion to accept as presented.
Okay, motion to approve the financials as presented. Do I have a second? I'll go with Tanner this time. Yeah, he was just a little Tanner Adams for the second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great, thank you. We'll move on. Hangar reports. Rob regretfully had to be out of town today, so he passed along, like Kent had mentioned, we're replacing the lights in the big hangar here. We've got, they accepted a bid for $2,500. We are waiting on the electrician's certificate of insurance so that he can work in the building and we don't get sued. I sent out an email kind of talking about it. I think we've had a couple of people say they have a lift. And so what I'll do is we'll kind of consolidate all those down. I think you got the wards might have said. Okay, I've had a few say, I'm gonna get with Rob when he gets back and we'll kind of figure out how to get that done. So, so I appreciate it. That saves the club $500–600 of renting a lift if we can find one on that. So, project hangar, same. I think there's still, it hadn't changed. Same 3 planes in it right now. So, any questions? Well, if you got a question, I'll do my best. But any questions on the project hangar, the Young Eagles hangar? All right, perfect.
I will mention, we're gonna need to pay some attention to the doors again, are getting really tough to open and close, so.
Okay.
The project hangar?
All right, Young Eagles report. We didn't fly Young Eagles last month. We did.
No,
Did not.
radiation.
Right.
I mean,
I was thinking this past weekend. So part of that was we were going to do the Viking flights.
Mhm.
I get that.
Flying Vikings.
Flying Vikings. Sorry. We were going to do that, but we had to reschedule because of the weather. For that day, there was a hurricane, I think. I mean, it's like a once a week kind of deal around here lately. So, so we're gonna try to reschedule with them. So we were hopeful that. Appreciate everybody coming out and saying, that was willing to work through that and do some things. So we'll be calling on you again for that. So Ray Aviation Scholarship. I'm gonna let Mark talk a little bit about that. We've got some news on that end. So Mark, right?
Well, we have talked a lot in the past about radiation. In fact, we've got 2 radiation scholars sitting here in the back. In fact, I'm gonna start off. Can you guys give me just 30-second blip? What has radiation done for you? And how has it changed your life? How has it set your course?
Can you stand up so I can't see you?
For me,
The aviation scholarship completely enabled me to start flying. Without it, it wouldn't really have even been a thought. It just kind of got rid of the monetary aspect of flight training, because we all know how much that costs. And it just kind of gave me a head start on what I'm trying to do, which is fly professionally in some aspect. And it just kind of got my foot in the door earlier than other people would have.
Okay.
And for me, it's pretty much the same way. I didn't know how I was going to be able to pay for flight training. I knew I always wanted to. I do plan to fly professionally, hopefully warbirds one day. It really helped me get into that, get into the aviation community. That was a huge thing getting into my EAA chapter. So it's put me further ahead than I planned, and I have returned flying, so it's pretty good.
What is it, just happenstance that two aviation scholars wound up in the same room, or was this through a friendship that you developed?
It was just, they chose us
Really?
randomly. Yeah.
How interesting.
Wow. It was awesome.
Well, so I'll just remind you, Tanner was our scholar last year, and we got him through the program. And we've been offered, because we did such a good job as a club. You remember there were a number of scholarships available out there, well over the number of clubs put in their name for those scholarships. We were chosen, we administered it well. Tanner was very successful. I can tell you not every club out there that's gotten a scholarship has been successful in getting their candidate through. So they came back to us, as you'll recall, in January or December of last year and said, you did such a great job, we're going to give you two choices. Either you get the $10,000 scholarship, you put your name in for it and vie for it, just like you did last year, or because you did such a good job, we'll give you two $5,000 matching scholarships. So our club chose that. We've moved forward in matching with that, as Kent's presented this morning. And we've talked a lot about this, but we've never really mentioned who the scholarship is named after or anything else. So I wanted to just read that for you really quick. The Ray Aviation Foundation was founded by James C. and Joan L. Ray. James' dedication to aviation began shortly after December 7th, 1941, attack on Pearl Harbor, when he enlisted in the Army Air Corps. He was involved in the D-Day invasion as a command of a B-17 pilot. In the Air Force post-war, he served in the Air National Guard, and he's been very involved in general aviation following those service years. His involvement has continued with EAA. He's funded a number of programs with them. The lodge that you'll see many of the kids stay at on the grounds there at Oshkosh was funded by him and put his name on it. So he's a tremendous founder and has set back in the background. And I don't think we speak well enough or enough about that name. So with that, we have 4 scholars to present today. And I'm going to ask our president, Chris, come on up here. We're going to place some funds, as Ken has talked about, in our account. This is a matching fund, some from EAA, some from our group here. I'll meet with the parents later to talk to you more about that in detail as how those funds will be dispersed. But we're going to basically be in hand with those scholars to walk them through and make sure that they get across the finish line and get their certificate. All are 16 currently. They can fly on their 17th birthday, and that's the point I look forward to. So if you want to call out their names here.
Sure. Our first one is Emma Burgess. This is Joseph, but I'm going to call him Joey. Joey Hawthorne. Cullen Merrill. And Bailey Ward.
So I'm excited to start this journey and watch these students as they move forward in their progress, meeting up with these 2 young men. I want you to pull them aside, watch them, ask them about their story. It's not just giving money to them, but they're going to be in service with us along with projects like this morning. They were all out here setting up chairs and tables with their EAA Young Eagles program and fly-ins. And so whenever you see them, grab them, take them up on a flight, encourage them along the way, because it's going to be a fun ride with them this next year. Thank you.
So just to follow up a little bit on that, Tanner was one of our young Eagles and moved through the program, got into the Ray Aviation. He's a returner. I think most of them started out as young Eagles as well. Just out at the Young Eagles event, I know just from talking with people that were there and hearing back from them, the younger kids really look up to the older kids, the younger adults that spend some time with them and kind of walk it through with them. And so it encourages even the younger generation to start getting interested in flying and seeing what can happen because we've got young adults in the program that are moving through. So I appreciate, just from my own perspective, I appreciate what the club has done in regards to supporting the youth that want to fly in this area. So thank you. Let's see. So we've got a CFI little safety briefing.
Where are you supposed to go first?
No, ma'am, I'd rather hear you.
We saved
I'm
the
sure
big
they
one
would
for
rather
last.
hear you than me.
So Deanna did such an outstanding job at the last meeting that we invited her back to give a little safety review for us again. So you guys is it on?
All right, so I was clearly told this time though to keep it to 3 minutes or less.
She doesn't.
Not by me.
Oh, look, there's a clock in the upper right hand
Listen
corner.
around.
You got 30 minutes. There's 30, not 3. 30 minutes.
Throw this up there. Okay, so yeah, volume make it good.
You got a pair.
Don Lindbergh, I'm counting on you to ask her a lot of questions.
So let's talk. I'll send it up in this. I think it's just waiting on me.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about when we're out there flying. First, anyone here who's regularly flying a multi-engine aircraft?
You know the answer.
Excellent, because this really isn't going to apply to you at all. But let's talk about just our 3-minute safety clip on what to do when worst case scenario happens and you experience a loss of engine power, maybe not a complete engine failure, or maybe it is. Let's talk about how to get that thing to the ground. And what happens, it says it's playing. Here we go. This is clearly the appropriate response to an in-flight engine failure.
Turn the lights on. Do that. When you go start the engine. Yeah, you got it. Pull over.
Yeah.
Okay, so if your instructor is not teaching you to tie a seatbelt or a rope to yourself and climb out of the Macallan to hand start your engine, you're doing it wrong. What I would, please do not do that. Let's not confuse this with me actually telling someone to go do this. It worked. It did work for him, thankfully.
That used to be an air show act.
So, let's see. I didn't play quite as well. Let's try this. Yes. Let's.
We're not counting some extra time.
Hey, okay. So let's talk about what happens when we can't climb onto the Callan and get that engine restarted. So many engine failure. It's not the engine failure that leads to the fatal accident rate in the GA community. It is a stall spin scenario at the bottom of that perfectly planned glide that you had coming down. And so all your hard work and preparation for this touchdown can be completely blown in the last 100 feet to the ground. So let's talk about how to ensure that you make your intended target point and manage your descent all the way to the ground. And it's all about energy management. So if you lose an engine, let's say you have a constant speed. In this case, we're going to say whatever your best glide speed is. Everyone who was here last month got a worksheet, and that's one of the items you would have gone and looked up in your POH and written down. Everybody has a best glide speed for their aircraft in the event of an engine failure. That maximizes the range. However, what this best glide speed doesn't necessarily do is leave you much excess energy at the bottom. And so when you get to the bottom of your descent and you get ready to land, you could face yourself very close to a stall speed depending on your configuration. So let's say at a constant speed, low power or no power, gear up, flaps up if you have a retractable gear aircraft. This is your angle of descent. Now, when you don't have power, what tools do we have available to us to manage our descent rate? Because we want to maintain a constant airspeed above all else. This glide speed is what we want. We have drag devices on our aircraft. Now, depending on what aircraft you fly and how it's configured, we have gear, we have flaps, some of you have speed brakes, but gear and flaps are something that most of us have. So let's say you put gear down, you are still maintaining this constant speed. Put your first drag device down, your gear, and your descent rate increases, right? Same speed, different descent rate. Everyone remember their instructor drilling home, pitch for airspeed, power for altitude? Well, if you have no power and you increase your drag on your aircraft, you have to pitch down further to maintain that constant airspeed, right? So what happens when I go to add in flaps? Yeah. We're increasing that descent rate even more, right? All right. So, do we have any other, we've got gear down, flaps down, do we have any other tools at our disposal to further increase our descent rate?
Forward slip.
Slip. That's more color. All right. Okay, so we have a wide variety of tools at our disposal, even without engine power, that allow us to increase or decrease our descent rate. Now, if you find out your slip is giving you too much of an altitude loss, what do? We take it out. You put in flaps and you realize you're not going to get to your target point, you still got some altitude, take them out. I mean, if they're still working, you do not have to commit to an early choice or a poor choice, okay? Pull that drag device back out, extend that range a little bit further if you need to. All right, so ideally, what we're looking for is that we maintain our altitude without any drag devices as long as possible, and where we know we're going to make our intended target point, and then we start adding in our drag devices to manage our descent down to our selected landing point. Let's say this is a runway here. It could be a field, it could be a road, whatever it is. You've selected a target landing point, and you've extended your range by using best glide and as little drag as possible to get within this cone that we've got highlighted here. All right, so you can be at the top of this cone or at the bottom of this cone. Which one offers you more choices?
Top.
At the top, yeah, absolutely. So if you're here, you've still got all your options available to you. Now, where I like to pick my touchdown point isn't on those numbers. It's not on those threshold markings. I like to point a third of the way down that runway. Why is that? Why would you think?
Gives you more options.
Yeah, if I land short, I may still have some concrete underneath me. If I happen to land long or fast and dribble off the end of the runway going 30 or 40 knots, that's still way better than hitting whatever was short of that runway. So I aim about a third of the way down my intended landing strip to give myself, again, just to hedge my bets a little bit and give myself a little bit more maneuvering room. So we have gear. Most of us are probably in fixed gear. We have flaps, we have slips, and there was a little bit of a discussion earlier at breakfast about the difference in side slips and forward slips. Bailey, tell me the difference in side slips and forward slips.
Forward slips helps you come in at a steeper angle, so you can lose more altitude in a short amount of time.
Without increasing your airspeed, right? So if you've got all your flaps down, all your gear down, your airspeed is set, and you put in a forward slip, now let's talk about this technique. You turn your aileron one direction, you apply opposite rudder, and you drop your nose, okay? Aileron, rudder, which way is that ball gonna go, inside or outside on that? Out. Okay, so aileron typically into the wind if you've got some wind or crosswind, and that just helps with drift. So it just makes sense. If you got a calm wind, it doesn't matter. I find most of our GA aircraft really like right aileron and left rudder. They just slip better that way. So right aileron, left rudder, and you've got to drop that nose to maintain that airspeed. If you don't drop that nose, you'll watch your airspeed start decreasing on you. So drop that nose, and now that you've dropped that nose and you've thrown your plane broadside into the wind, you're really going to increase your angle of descent. What's a side slip, Bailey?
Just coming at me today, or?
I'm picking on Bailey because we had this conversation this morning already. She knows the answer, so I'm not actually throwing her under the bus on the spot.
So side slip is to lose some speed.
Well, a side slip is a crosswind landing technique.
Okay.
So side slip is when most of the time when you're correcting for a crosswind on final, all you're doing is pointing your nose into the wind. You're not adding rudder inputs, you're not changing anything, you're just crabbing into the wind and tracking down your runway center line. Side slip is a technique used close to the ground where you have, again, your aileron into the wind to correct for drift, and you use your rudder to correct your longitudinal axis so that you touch down aligned with that runway center line. And you'll end up touching down on one main, then the other main, and then your nose wheel comes down. So slips are very, very good. What is bad are skids. Right. So skids put you in a position where you use, let's talk about this turn, from base to final, and you overshoot final. Okay? So you overshoot, you're coming back to the left to correct, and you think, I can get there a little bit faster if I put in left rudder. Mark wants a model. I want to not step on, I want to not run into a flagpole on camera today. Yeah, so you're coming in. What were we talking about? Base to final. Thank you. All right, so we turn from base to final. Here's our runway. We overshoot, we bank left, and we add in left rudder, which is exactly the wrong thing to do, right? We turn with our ailerons. We do not turn with our rudders. If anyone here is making turns with your rudder, stop. Okay? All right. I had this discussion with a guy who'd been flying for 25 years yesterday. He was making turns with his rudder. Don't do that. Okay? Because what happens, you turn left, this wing's lower, this wing's higher. Who would you like me to pick on? Mark. Mark.
What's the answer, Bailey? What's the answer?
I drop this wing, I turn left, drop this wing, and then I add in left rudder to help. If I'm at a minimum airspeed here, because I'm on final approach. If I were to raise my nose just slightly, which wing's gonna stall first?
You're gonna have the left wing stalled, not just for that, but you've got left turning tendencies going on as well, so.
You've got left turning tendencies, all right? Left wing stalls. You've now disrupted the airflow coming over this wing by putting your nose, by yawing into it with that left rudder. And when that wing stalls and stops producing lift, what does it do?
Yeah.
You're doing aerobatics for a short period of time.
Yeah.
How do you get out of this when you're at
600
50,
feet. Yeah.
100, 200 feet above the ground on final approach? You don't. Exactly.
In a bag, that's how you get
In a bag. You get out of that in a bag.
Pull the parachute.
Not enough room. Not enough room even for the parachute planes. Okay, so skids bad, always. Slips are good. Forward slips are good. Side slips are good. They're a proven technique that don't put your airplane into a bad position aerodynamically. Okay. So slips good, skids bad. Now, we just happen to have a semi-local case of this happened a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail. High performance airplane, overshot final. Guy comes in, he has an instructor on board. Comes in, they get just over the runway. He's still not quite aligned with it in a power off scenario. He's trying to get back to the runway. He steps on that left rudder and they came down, and thankfully they were only 20 or 30 feet above the ground, because when they came down, before it could develop into a spin, that left wing hit the runway and it came back down flat, totaled the aircraft, but both occupants walked away. So this last second, I mean, beautiful glide all the way down. We had, y'all might have read here in Texas just a couple weeks ago, guy lost his engine at 19,000 feet, glided all the way to a private strip, stall spun it in the last 100 feet, okay? Airspeed is your life here, okay? You are much better off in that last 100 feet flying your airplane into the treetops and surviving. This capsule is designed to protect you, okay? This is not, okay? No protection. Flying controlled even into terrain is going to hugely increase your chances of survival, and most people do. There have been, I can count 4 engine failures I've read about within the past 2 weeks. 3 of those walked away. Okay, they put them in cornfields. Actually, 2 of them put them in cornfields in the upper Midwest. Walked away just fine. 1 of them did not. He tried to stretch a glide. He got too slow. He's already close. He stall spun it with just enough altitude to actually spin it. Okay, so remember the tools at your disposal. Maximize your glide, and then my recommendation is, once you have your intended target reached, increase your speed by 10 knots. Okay, add 10 to whatever you're doing, and if you think it's not difficult mentally to point that nose down a little bit more when you don't have any way of getting that altitude back, it is. I get it. It is tough, tough, tough. But once you have your target made, increase that airspeed 10 knots, because what 10 knots does is that buys you more time when you get to the bottom, and everybody's natural reaction is to stay away from the ground. And you start pulling that nose back, and you start trying to stay away from those treetops, and you start trying to stretch that glide across that highway you've almost cleared, or that ditch, or those power lines. That 10 knots is really going to help you at the bottom of your descent. So make your target, add 10 knots, use your drag devices and your slips, and then fly it to the bottom. Don't quit early. Don't raise the nose. Again, remember, angle of attack isn't airspeed dependent, but it correlates in certain scenarios. So give yourself some extra airspeed, or excess energy, as we like to call it, and then at the bottom, use that energy to make a safe and successful power out landing. If you're not practicing with this this with your instructor, go find one, go practice it. It's great in your airplane. Yes, sir.
One thing you should mention, if you have an older plane like the Cessnas with 40-degree flaps, no forward slip with over 30 degrees flaps.
Yes, okay. So, yes, absolutely. Within the limitations of your aircraft that you are flying. And everyone, again, should know your aircraft well. We talked about this last month on reading your TOH, knowing your limitations, knowing your aircraft. And he's absolutely correct. Some aircraft, such as your older Cessnas with 40 degrees of flaps, prohibit prolonged slips with the flaps extended.
Outstanding.
All right.
Good.
Is that what you bring that? That was a little longer than
That was good.
All right. So we do have a few announcements in new business. We've got some solos. I'm gonna ask them to come up and ring the bell. So we'll start with Jason Squire. Jason just did his solo. Jason's been flying a little while, but he purchased a plane and he's been working off the hours in that to get through his solo. So anyway, Jason. He actually soloed in a Cirrus. So that's pretty impressive. I don't know a lot of people get to solo in a Cirrus, but Jason did. So we're gonna let him ring the bell. So. All right, and then next we have Cullen Merrill. She soloed this. When did you solo this? Was it this?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Yeah. Okay. So,
You didn't get her the tattoo, Ken? I mean, she got that.
Can't remember the date.
and I think.
Let's put it up here.
Oh, okay.
Since Cullen could remember a date, I got her, Cullen can remember a date, I got you something to remember it by. I'll let you open it up and you can see what that is.
Thank you.
And now you can tell us the date, 'cause I don't remember either.
I can get it out. There we go. 10:04:20, so.
And then last, but certainly not least, we had Miss Bailey Ward, who soloed as well this week. Soloed Tuesday and got her driver's license. She soloed first, then got her driver's
Yes.
license. People we like. So real excited for those guys. So we've got a few more in the pipeline as well that should be hitting their solos pretty quick.
Good.
I'm not sure that Emma has rung the bell.
Oh yeah, you didn't get to ring it because you weren't here last time. So Emma, we mentioned Emma last time, and she soloed prior to our last meeting. So, but she did not get to ring the bell. So thank you, Mark. So we'll let Emma ring the bell and get her congratulations. Very good. So we're excited. That's great. Three new pilots, or 3 new solos, and well 4. So with Jason, so it's we're really excited about that. That's a great thing for the club and for the youth in our group. So next order, we've got so it's October and it's never too early to start thinking about Christmas. So if you roll through Hobby Lobby, I'm sure they've got plenty of Christmas stuff up right now. When do we use, is it the second?
Second week, second Saturday.
So it'll be the second Saturday, and I did not write that date down, but it'll be the second Saturday. I'll need volunteers kind of to help out during that time. I'll be sending some more information out on that, but just if you can kind of get that on your calendars, that'll be at that time. So
December the 12th.
December the 12th, thank you. We'll be out in the hangar. We decorate it up and kind of do some nice things. So we need people just to help set up, help decorate, and then we'll meet for a nice meal. And I'll send some more information out on that over the next several weeks. I just wanted to make sure that was on everybo's calendar. I'm going to go ahead. Who all did that? I know we had a few people show up late as members who did not get a ballot that showed up late.
Call back.
Call back. So if you've got, someone gave you, if you have not filled out your ballot, if you go ahead and fill that out quickly. Did you get one? Okay. Oh, sorry, Wade, I don't care. Did you get one? Okay. So deal, and then I guess we'll just, if you'll pass them to the inside, we'll pick them up. Seems like a good teacher thing to do.
I'll take it. Thank you. Got one more back here, sir. Hey, did you come vote?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're fine. We're all going to be the last. She ran as fast as we told her, we were like, run faster. Come on, she got it. She did. We have 3. I like it. I like it. She's like, the entire life, it's that very last. She just kind of, she thought it was going in before it was. And she came out of the woods and realized she had another lap to go. She thought she had 300 meters left. She had like 800, almost a mile.
All right, last call. Everybody got their ballots in? Yeah, okay. Real quickly, or not real quickly, but before we move on, last month, Deanna had spent quite a bit of time going over her CFI review, and we enjoyed it, but we didn't get a chance to get to Kent. But before we do Kent's presentation, I'm trying to give you a few minutes.
Yeah, give me all, just take care of all your business.
So as y'all know, a few months ago, we had one of our members pass away. So his family is here today. I'd like to recognize John McConnell's family. They came in. One thing that we do each time that a member goes west, we put them on our plaque so that we don't forget our members that came before us. And we've added John's name to the list. It's kind of a bittersweet thing, but something that we feel like a good way to honor the memory of those folks that have been a big part of our club. So we thank you guys for coming, and we appreciate John's friendship. All right. So Kent, a few months ago, got to spend a little bit of time teaching young pilots. Well, I guess there might have been some older ones too, but got to spend some time in Alaska teaching folks how to do some flying up there and kind of go through some things. I won't hopefully steal too much. It's called Kingdom Air Corps. They actually partner a little bit with Laterno as well. They've got some ties to the local area beyond just our CFIs that got to go up there. So, but I asked Kent if he would share a little bit of that, of his time up there and kind of what he did with us. And it's always cool to see pictures from Alaska. So I'll let Kent take over.
Okay, and I'll be brief since I was hoping Deanna would take up more time because I know people enjoy seeing her, listening to her more than they do me. This is just kind of like a home video deal for me. As a matter of fact, in relationship to Deanna, she fortunately works with a guy named Joe Casey, and Joe Casey is a DPE that we use out of Jacksonville. And we were up there one time. I think Wade was up there getting his check ride, and I met another pilot up there named Mike Miller. And in trying to advance to the next level, think about aviation, there's always another level, another step, another, great on what y'all done, but there's another step, So Mark and I and Jeremy are all trying to go the next step. We're trying to keep up with Deanna, but, it's never going to happen. But, so the next level is to get our CFI instructor. And there was a guy named Mike Miller up there, and I said, "Hey, Mike, I need to get with you on working on my CFI instructions. He says, oh yeah, great, yeah, when you gonna do that? I'm like, hey, I'm ready, I come up here next week or the week after that. He says, oh, I'm not gonna be here. Well, Mike, where are you gonna be? He says, I'm gonna be in Alaska. I'm like, what are you doing in Alaska? I'm teaching students. And of course, my initial response is, well, I want to go. You know, pack your bags, come on, I'm leaving next Tuesday or Wednesday. And I'm like, are you really? He says, yeah, it's the coolest thing in the world. He says, then Mike goes on to share, he says, I'm a pastor at a church here in Jacksonville, and this is something I look forward to teaching students to become missionaries. And you teach them in an Alaska environment, which is, you know, there's no concrete strips where they're teaching. They're out on the side of a mountain where the runway goes downhill both ways. And so up there teaching students. So Mike made the trip. He came back and he called me up and says, hey, we got to do lunch. I got to tell you about my trip. I said, okay, I'll drive to Jacksonville. And I went up there. We had, you know, 15-minute lunch turned into an hour and a half. Mike was super pumped, super excited. And he really enjoyed the trip, not just flying in Alaska. I mean, my gosh, how fun is that? But also flying with kids and that are going to be missionaries and use their aviation skills as well to do their missionary work. He said, man, you need to go up there. So I happened to be at Joe Casey's again the next day or two, and Joe said, yeah, I'm going up there to give check rides in about 2 weeks. I said, well, I want to go. He said, well, you need to go. You need to prep them for me. I'm like, so I could do this for Joe Casey. I can see this working out good. Okay, Joe, you know, I'll put your name on recommendation. He said, yeah, put my name on recommendation, call them up, send your application in, and you'll get a request to come. Because, you know, it's their end of the year. Alaska has a season like from April till September, and that's their season. And it was like toward the first week of September. And so, sent my application in, got an email, thank you for your application, it's late in the year, probably not going to be able to do anything until next year, blah, blah, blah. And about 2 days later, hey, we checked out your references, you're welcome to come anytime and work with our kids, when can you be here? And I knew Joe was going to go up like the next Monday or Tuesday, so I'm like, well, I'm just going to leave tomorrow. So the next question I had was, I got to tell my wife. So, and also flying Alaska, you had to have a COVID test, and it was Sunday afternoon, and I was making all this decision. I'm like, I told my wife, she's like, okay, pack your bags, see you. So we're gonna get a COVID test. Now I checked around, you can do a COVID test on Sunday afternoon. So I got a test like at 2, and I got the results at 4, and I got a report. I was on a plane on Tuesday, and got up there Wednesday, and flew with the kids Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And Joe Casey came up there Sunday night, and he gave check rides the following week. It worked out really good. Had the time of my life. Being in Alaska is great, especially when it's 95 degrees here and it's 65, 75 degrees up there all day. Beautiful scenery. I didn't go up there and really take a lot of pictures. I just happened to take a few pictures, and I put together a little, I guess, a 3-minute blip of the things, of the mountains and of the scenery. I took a picture of one trip with a Russian Lena. Lena's from Russia. She speaks Russian plus Czech plus English. She's getting her commercial check ride. Joe Casey gave her a commercial check ride. And she took me up flying, and we went down the valley. Matatsu Valley is where it's in between the two mountains where the glaciers is torn out, cut a valley through there, and you fly down that valley. You look at the mountains on both sides. And so a lot of this video is about that. Some of this, I put her trip in there, but scenery is fabulous. It's going to show that aviation is amazing because you get to do a lot of things. I was also impressed they have a mechanic shop over there, and I would walk in the mechanic shop, kind of introduce myself, and of course they'd always, where are you from? No, well, you can't tell, I'm from Texas, it's kind of how I would start out. And well, whereabouts? I'm like, East Texas. Well, whereabouts? I'm like, little town you never heard of, Lufkin. Oh yeah. I'm like, I'm in Alaska, and you're, oh yeah, and me, because you know Lufkin. He says, yeah, we're from Materno. I know where that is, and there's about I found out, yeah, my buddy's over here, he's from Laterno too. It's his third year to be up here and they're being mechanics. So you gotta be a missionary pilot. You gotta be able to work on planes, fly planes, and do missionary work. So it's the real deal, you know. The guy that started this, and I think my 3 minutes are up. The guy that started this is Dwayne King. He been a missionary all his life to East Russia. I got my directions wrong. Missionary all his life to East Russia, and he would fly from Alaska to Russia and do missionary work and fly in Alaska. He did it for many years. And he established this airfield called King Ranch in Alaska, and it's absolutely on the side of a mountain. They bulldozed the runway through there, and it's literally a runway goes downhill both sides. About 2/3 of it goes downhill. The other third goes downhill this way. That's 2 downhills. And a grass strip, a little bit of rock, and you need to learn your short field landings really good, because on a morning, they say at the morning, if it's kind of dew on the grass, there's grass on this long downhill, and once you get out of the rock into the grass and it's a morning with dew and mist, you just kind of, yeah, you've been there, huh? Yeah, you just keep going. So, super exciting, super fun. I got a little video of that, some planes coming in, and I've already timed out, so it's time for me to quit talking.
What town are you in up there? Anchorage or?
Yeah, we fly into Anchorage, and then you go up the valley into, the closest town is Sutton, but we're not really in Sutton, so it's just north of town there. I'll play this and kind of talk later, I guess. Oh, this was another deal. A Russian aircraft they took the wings off of. That is King Mountain. Anyway, I'll quit talking. Beautiful scenery. Golly, it's beautiful there. That's the valley. There's a road right here, and that's the peak of the runway. So after you cross the road, it goes downhill the other way. So, I ain't made it. I flew that. No, I didn't.
And took the pictures.
I put those books in there. Dwayne has you required reading on books and stuff. I'm going to tell you that. This is taking off. Notice the nose wheel. I told him, look, notice the nose wheel. It's perfect. Look at that nose wheel. Isn't that beautiful? That's me again. See the road? If you're not cleared by the road, it's down. Look at him go down here. That's called flying down the runway. Ground effect. It's called ground effect. It snowed one morning. That was the mountain. Now it snowed that morning. By the afternoon, it's all gone in the mountains. You got a touch by the time you hit that road. Here he comes. Oh, I hit it again. That's great. I wish I was half as good as I brag to be. Now, that's King Mountain up there with a point. I was literally there. I was just showing I was there. Right now I'm in the plane with Lena. And she's got the nose wheel off the ground just perfect. I'm holding the camera up over my head. And it is bumpy, by the way. I'm holding the camera real still. And it's this is the real deal. It's grass and rocks. And now you see the runway just breaks over the side. I mean, it's downhill. It's really... Isn't that gorgeous?
182?
That was a one, no. That was a 150. Oh, I went to church. You know a church around here called Lakeview Baptist Church? Glacier View Baptist Church. Glacier View Baptist Church. This is a side trip, Talkeetna, in the famous airport, Talkeetna, Yukon, Kingdom Airport. I've got more, but I'm out of time.
So I'm serious. I can't get enough of seeing pictures and video from Alaska. So it's always impressive. I sit there and watch those. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. Results from the vote. President next year. These are for starting in January. So President will be Tim McDonald, Vice President Jonathan Davis, Secretary is John Owen, Treasurer Kent Walker. Our Young Eagles coordinator will be Danny Redard. The Young Eagles hangar manager will be a change. That's Patrick Haney, and the project hangar manager is Mark Dunn. So appreciate all you guys voting and coming out. That's I know kids like to talk about elections and voting, and anyway, so but we all love each other here. So our next business meeting is November 21st. So mark that down. That will be our last business meeting of the year. And then, of course, in December, we'll have our Christmas party. So we'll see y'all there. We'll see if Kent can't get back to Alaska in between now and then. Give some great presentation. All right. Anything else for the good of the group?
Yeah, 21st, Beaumont Uni's having a fly-in.
Oh, okay. They're at Beaumont?
Beaumont Uni, yeah.
October 21st?
10 to 4 they said on their Facebook page.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that'd be good. We had kicked around maybe trying to get out today. I haven't checked the ceilings or anything to see what they're like.
4,200.
4,200. So if people are out flying, you want to drag some folks along.
I don't know if they're racing today, but Jasper has their Ghost Run. It is basically a small air race. This one is not going to be a sanctioned event, but it's had some pretty good attendance. They'll normally fly Jasper, Nacogdoches, Lufkin, just have a circuit, but then a good number of people on the field. So if you're going to be out, that might be a nice place to stop in.
Yeah, there you go. So it'll be fun.
Rec Law fourth weekend of this month.
Of this month?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I've talked
So next
to-
weekend, sorry, not to be funny, just.
Right.
Yeah, next weekend, okay.
Next weekend. And I talked to Wendell Dillard at Critters, and he's had 5 different individual groups fly in over there. Some of them were 20, 25 airplanes. And he's not doing a fly-in right now, but he's isolating where everybody can be socially distanced. And if you want to go in there as a group, he will actually separate you, and he'll even prepare food and everything
Okay.
for you. So you just have to call him 24 hours ahead of time and let him know.
Okay. All right. Tim?
Oshkosh, 2021. Who wants to go? What's the interest? Not everybody put their hands up at once. So a few of us have talked about this. For me, as a private pilot, that's a big trip, right? And so Mark and Kent and I and Jeremy had talked, this was 4 or 5 months ago, about trying to, for us younger pilots, maybe one of those guys would go with us or something like that. We want to, I want to go if I can manage to get it off for sure. That means I can take a person with me. I would really like to kind of get a roster and make a plan. We're 10 months away, 8, 9 months away from that now. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the last full week of July, correct, Mark? Ken?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that is 25th through the 31st is 2021. So that is truly the last 4 weeks. So let's just start having a conversation about that.
How about we set a meeting for either before or after the meeting next month? We'll just start talking then.
Say that one, sorry.
How about we set a meeting either prior to or after the meeting next month?
For all those interested.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably a good idea. Because we gotta start looking at lodging, or if we're gonna camp, or we're gonna do that. The guys from the East Texas Flyers, what's that guy's name? Keith. Hold on, I got his name here.
Martin?
Yeah, Keith Martin. He normally goes, and he has said that he's got connections and he can get us all together. So if we're gonna camp, even if we don't fly in the same day, if he knows ahead of time, he can put all those planes that we bring along with his group. He says he normally has 2 or 3 go as well. And then, we'll do, since we've got the Ray Aviation Scholarship, all this stuff, we can make a bigger presence. I mean, hang a flag of 1219 above our campsite, and, as many of you guys that can go, let's make a show of it. Let's let them know that Lufkin's plugged in. So, sound good? So we'll start, I guess that's what we'll do, everybody interested. We'll just send out a meeting deal, and we'll have one, and we'll start.
Tag it on next month's email notice, whether it's before or after. But
Yeah. So, just a show of hands, who wants to go?
Everybody wants to.
Well, I mean, realistically, if we can make that deal work, so about 10 of us, and how many planes is that? 5 or 6? And so I know Mark Kent normally always go, and of course, we're gonna be dependent on COVID. I mean, they're gonna be quick to cancel this year again, but we'll see what happens. All right, thank you.
No, there's no election next year.
All right, motion to dismiss.
So moved.
So moved. Second, all in favor? All right.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, guys.